So what happened to the 9 million? They lost their jobs. Those jobs disappeared, not from the earth, but disappeared from America. They went overseas. They were outsourced. American jobs were outsourced. Why? Well, they'd like to say it's simply the nature of the free market system. And indeed, that's part of it. But that's not all of it. A major part of it had to do with specific tax policies and other manufacturing and industrial policies that were enacted by Congress and remained on the books for some 20 years or more. We need to address that issue, because if in fact it is the policies of this Congress and previous Congresses that have led to the great outsourcing and the decline of the American manufacturing sector, and along with it the American middle class, then there's something that we can do about it. We make laws. We establish policies. And if we find that there are policies that are contrary to the good ability of American economy to prosper and the middle class to prosper along with it, then we ought to change those policies. That's what the Make It in America agenda is all about. The Make It in America agenda is specifically designed to rebuild the American manufacturing sector. This is an issue that's been taken up by the Democratic caucus, led by our minority leader, Mr. Hoyer, minority whip, Mr. Hoyer, and carried on by my colleagues and I. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I noticed that my colleague from New York, Mr. Tonko, has joined us. And Mr. Tonko, we were going to start out on health care, but we kind of morphed into the issue of the American manufacturing industry and the role of the middle class. Now, the middle class, I went off on manufacturing and the need to rebuild that and the Make It in America agenda. But also, a key part of the inability of the American middle class to sustain itself is health care. And the Affordable Health Care Act, which the Supreme Court recently confirmed was constitutional, is a major effort on the part of the Democratic Congress and President Obama to provide not only health care, but to lift up the American middle class. So let's hold for a moment the issue of Make It in America. We'll come back to it in the latter half of this hour. But let's take up the health care agenda, which I know you wanted to speak to initially. While you're doing that, I'm going to run and get a couple of placards that show what it is we're talking about.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Garamendi.
Mr. Tonko from the great state of New York, part of the East-West team.